Hi, my name is Elise Chedevi, and welcome to the weekly Success Schedule webinar. So, there are many times when we're thinking to ourselves in our business, what should I do to succeed? Like, what path should I go down? There are so many programs, there are so many different ways to build the business. So many times we go to a presentation or leadership or convention or even online, and we're thinking, well, this leader does it this way and it totally works for them, or this leader does it this way, and we end up changing constantly what we're doing. And we get excited and we get our team on board. But eventually what usually happens is our team starts to feel a little bit of whiplash, and we're not really being effective and leading them down a clear path. And that's really what we need. We need a clear direction, a clear path that we're all on we're going to the same location. And all you really need to be is a couple steps ahead of your team, but you need to be heading in the same direction, right? So what we found is that the most successful wellness advocates follow a very specific schedule. Basically, they know what they're doing, when they're doing it, and they keep to that schedule. So not only do they know their schedule, but the whole team knows what the schedule is. And it duplicates really, really well. So today we are going to talk about a schedule that helps you become a diamond. This is a schedule that so many people have followed. And even if you're brand new in the business and you just started, if you follow this schedule every week, every month, month after month, within a year, you should be a diamond. Isn't that exciting? That should be exciting for you, right? So let's talk about some specifics with this schedule. There are 7 crucial activities for success. And when we focus on these crucial things and get really good at these 7 things and actually schedule them into our week and do these first, and then if we do these first, then everything else seems to fall into place. We've all seen or heard of that little presentation where someone has a glass jar, and then next to the glass jar are big rocks and small rocks and sand, right? And if you pour the sand into the jar first and then put the little rocks, well, then the big rocks usually don't fit. But if you start by putting the big rocks into the glass jar first and then the little rocks and then pour the sand on top, everything seems to fit. It's the same way with our business. We have to focus on the most crucial things first, and then all the other things seem to fit into place. The 7 crucial activities that we're going to be talking about in detail are: first, an introduction to oil class. We all know that nothing happens unless we actually share the message of essential oils with people. Second is a basic business training. Third is wellness consults. Then continuing education classes, team calls, strategy sessions with our key leaders, and then, of course, contacting and following up. When these things are put into our business first, number 1, we're way more effective. And number 2, we get to our goals way faster. There's a lot of times where I'll talk to wellness advocates and they'll say, well, I just don't understand because I'm putting this much time into my business. But when I look at where they're at in the business and how long it's taken them to get there, I think to myself, what have they been doing with all of those hours? And I don't know if they're just looking in their back office too much, waiting for people to enroll, or, reorganizing their oils and putting stickers, on the bottle caps of their oils over and over, or maybe just talking with people in their downlines, but they're really good friends and they talk about everything and spend hours on the phone where they could be really specific, and they call it, doing doTERRA. I'm not sure what everyone is doing to fill up all those hours, but all I know is that if they fill their time and their schedule with these 7 crucial activities, and you do it week after week, month after month, you'll be a diamond. So let's get into each one of these in detail. The Introduction to Oils class. This is a really important class to be incredibly good at. This is very, very crucial for your business, right? So a lot of my leaders, they listened to this class over and over and over and over again until they became very familiar with it, until they taught it very simply, very well. It was very duplicatable, right? I remember one of my frontline leaders, Molly Dayton, when she very first joined the business, she would go to the gym in the mornings and she would listen to this oil class over and over and over again, right? And she started Diamond Club. And she was really new in the business. But because she got so good at this oil class, she had so many different enrollments and she was so proficient at closing people and teaching with power. She actually won Diamond Club when she was literally only months into the business. It was amazing. So you want to get really, really great at the oil class. But today we're going to talk about duplicating when you have the oil class. So you want to make sure that you're doing your oil class at least once a week and it's scheduled. And you schedule it on the same day, at the same time, in the same place. Now you might think to yourself, like, why is that important? Well, it's super important for duplication. Think about this. Everybody in your organization, your entire team knows that Thursday at 7 p.m. we're always going to have an oil class. So they can bring anybody they want. They can send anybody they want, no matter who they run into or when somebody has a great oil experience. They don't have to say, well, let me get back to you or let me find out when the next oil class is. They know it's Thursday at 7 p.m. at this location. And to have that set is super, super critical. I remember when we first started building, I was living in Utah, and we had a specific location, and on Thursday nights, we had an oil class, and everybody knew about it. Sometimes we'd have dozens of people there with lots of wellness advocates that would bring people, and sometimes there was just a few, but we had it every single week. And it was super critical for us for duplication to make sure that this happened. Okay. Now your oil class, your regular oil class should take about an hour. So we're going to schedule about an hour into our schedule for the oil class. And right after, immediately after the oil class, when people are still there, we're going to actually have a basic business training. Now, one of the most popular concerns that people tell me about their business is, I can't find anybody that wants to do the business with me. Like, I can sell the product all day long, but I really am having a hard time finding business builders or sharers. And I usually ask them, well, why? Like, how much time do you spend talking about it? And they usually say, well, I don't spend any time talking about it. And so my response to that is, the only thing that I'm surprised about is that you're surprised. Well, of course, you're not going to find people that are wanting to share and do the business because you're not even talking about it. You don't have a place where you give them that opportunity. And so what we do is right after the oil class, we have a basic business training. And this basic business training is only about 20 minutes long. It's simple. It's effective. It just whets people's appetite, right? We go over building a pipeline and why residual income is really important. And then we talk about why partner with doTERRA, why this is such a great company, why the oils are amazing, and why our compensation plan is the best, right? But we don't go, this is not a time to draw circles. This is not a time to talk about the power of three or to talk about unilevel and bonus pools and all that. It's too overwhelming. They've just gone through this oil class and they have so much in their brain. We do not want to talk about this right now. But the most powerful part of the basic business training is success stories, business success stories. You can share yours. You can show, other wellness advocates can talk about theirs. I'm sure you've heard a lot of other people's success stories that you can share. And this is when people that are at this basic business training think to themselves, that's what I want that. I think I could do that too. Or maybe I want to pay for my product, or I want to I want to supplement my income, or even some people might think I would like to replace my income. Okay. All right. Now, once again, you have to schedule it in. And it's going to be right after your oil class. Every single oil class you have right after a basic business intro class, okay? Do this every single time. You should never have an oil class that you don't go into the basic business training. Every single time this should happen. So here we go, Thursday at 7 p.m. Right after that, 8 p.m. we have the business intro. Now, does it have to be on Thursday? Because I have it in my schedule here. Does it have to be? Of course not. You're going to do your own schedule and you're going to make it fit what's appropriate for you and for your team and where you live. Like, for instance, I know that, in Utah, Sundays would have never worked to have an oil class. But that's one of the most popular days. They get the biggest attendance in Asia. So you just have to decide what day is going to work best for you with your team and where you live. All right. So the next thing are wellness consults. Now, a wellness consult is something that you give to every single person that enrolls with doTERRA. Anyone that's personally enrolled to me, right? I give them a wellness consult, and it should happen just, 4 or 5 or 6 days after they join the business. And so that means that if I'm signing up, let's say, 1 or 2 people a week, okay? Well, I'm going to be giving 1 or 2 wellness consults a week. If I'm signing up 10 people a week, which would be amazing, well, then I'm going to have to schedule in 10 wellness consults a week. But usually what you need to do is just have different times during the week that you always know this is when I can have wellness consults. And so when someone signs up, you always know, well, I can do it at Tuesday at 2 p.m. or I can do it Friday at noon. What works best for you? And it doesn't matter when it is, right? It can be, one of them can be in the evening, one of them can be in the afternoon, just to hit people's schedules easier. But when you have it scheduled that these are times that you do wellness consults a week, then guess what? It's so much easier to find the time to do it because it's already scheduled into your doTERRA schedule. Now, let's say, what if one week you don't sign up 2 people? Well, when you get to that part, you think to yourself, well, I don't have a wellness consult, but you can do something else with your business. These hours that we're putting down on the schedule are doTERRA hours. It's kind of like clocking in and clocking out for work. If you went to work and you didn't have a specific project, you wouldn't go, well, I'm just going to go home because I'm done with that project. You would find something to do at work to push the business forward, right? It's the same thing with doTERRA. If you have scheduled hours with doTERRA, and if something changes, if somebody cancels a class, or if somebody doesn't have a wellness consult, at the same time, you can do other things in your business and move them forward, okay? So we need to schedule our wellness consults. And once again, you're just giving wellness consults to the people that you personally enroll. And your team is going to be giving wellness consults to the people they personally enroll. All right, next, here we go. We are now going to talk about continuing education. Continuing education is huge. It's something that if you're not plugging your people into continuing education, many of them don't even open their bottles that they've purchased for a long time. 85% of your paycheck is going to come from product users. And we know that in doTERRA. 85% of people that sign up in doTERRA just want to use the oils. They just want to help their families with natural health care, right? And so they don't have any interest in sharing or building. So that 85% of the people that sign up, you need to have a very solid education program for them so that you can train them on essential oils and so that they get exposed to enough products that they're trying enough things that they eventually fall in love with 4 or 5 things they literally can't live without every single month for the rest of their life. And if they're not exposed to a lot of different things, then you don't have that opportunity, right? And so for the product education, it's an 8-week course and it rotates every single week. You can do it online, you can do it live, but these are the classes that we have found are the most important, the most essential for people to know. The first is, I have oils, now what? So it's basically, I've got my oils. What do I do next? What are the basics, right? What are the basics of having oils? It goes into like things like safety and how to diffuse, all the basic things. The next is nutrition and supplements. So, of course, we're going to be going over lifelong vitality and a lot of other supplements, right? Then toxic-free living. This is a popular one. Oils for every age. So we talk about how we use oils for kids and adults and teenagers and the elderly, right? Next is essential skincare. So we're going to be exposing them to the skincare. Stress, sleep, and emotions. Super popular class. And then women's health and hormones. This is actually my favorite one because it's something that I struggle with. And then finally, oil for pain management. So these are the different product courses that we're going to be offering. And they rotate every single week, week in and week out. I can't even tell you how many weeks, how many months, how many years that I've taught product education. I remember when we first introduced this in Utah and we started doing product education, sometimes we literally would have 150 people show up to a live event and just absolutely love not only the culture, but like being trained on the oils. At the very end, you talk about how to get on loyalty rewards. And you show them how to sign up for that. I mean, they get 8 different exposures to being on loyalty rewards. So if you didn't get them on the loyalty rewards program in your wellness consult, there's 8 different exposures you have now. And they fall in love that, you teach a class and you think these are the different things. They're awesome. These are the different products you need to be using. And people think, well, I want to use that. And then, of course, at the end of every single class, we talk about loyalty rewards, right? So they're like, oh, so I get money back and I get points. This is so crucial. And it's 85% of your check. It's so crucial that we're doing this. Now, what you need to understand is there is an outline that we follow because it's not just product education. We're actually going to talk a little bit more in depth about the business, just like we did at our oil class, right? Because people are already there, we're going to open the door 8 different times. They're coming to 8 different continuing education classes. Well, 8 different times we're going to open the door and give them the opportunity to share and or build a business or both, right? So this is what the training outline basically looks like. Step number 1 is you have your continuing education class. Step number 2 is you have a question and answer series. It's about 5 minutes long. Right? It could be live, it could be online, you do the same thing. Step number 3 is you present building a pipeline. It's a presentation that Dana Moore came up with. It's beautiful, and it goes into more detail of the business. This is not, once again, where we go into the full compensation and how to start your business, but it goes into more detail about building a pipeline, right? About having residual income and about building a business, and it's wonderful. So right after that building a pipeline presentation, you give an invite to a Business Made Easy presentation. It's not on this day. It's another day because it's too long if you went over this. And there's a lot of people there that are just showing up to nutritions and supplements. And they don't really want to stay for an hour presentation about the full compensation plan or 6 weeks to elite. It's a little bit much for them. So building a pipeline presentation, we give every single time after the product education. So once again, you have your continuing education class, you have a question and answer series, and what I say to people is simply, hey, if you stay for about 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to talk about building a pipeline and residual income and the joy of sharing essential oils. And then we're going to have some essential oil snacks after. And most people stay just for the snacks. They just want the snacks, and so they stay. It's only 20 minutes long, right? Now, this is harder to do online to have essential oil snacks, right? So it's a little bit harder, but live, it's beautiful. And always live is more effective. So step number 5 would be have your essential oil snacks. And then at a different time, you've already scheduled people to come to the Business Made Easy presentation, whether it's online, whether it's live, whether you're sending them the presentation by email. But at a different time, when they listen to the Business Made Easy presentation, you're actually going to invite people to participate in the oil games. whether they're product users or sharers or business builders. And so this is kind of like, this is the hum. This is what you do, right? Every week, you just rotate your classes, your product education classes, and it becomes beautiful. It's amazing. And you know what? Let's say somebody at your essential oil class wasn't interested in sharing. And let's say they weren't interested in sharing at the first continuing education class, but then they kept coming, right? And after the third or fourth continuing education class and they've heard building a pipeline presentation, after a while they're thinking, maybe this is something I really need to do. Maybe this is something I want. Or maybe they're simply just thinking, I love all these oils and I'm buying a lot now because I've been educated on how incredible they are and I want to pay for my, the oils that I use once a month. And they want to have free natural health care. You just give them an opportunity. You're giving them 8 different opportunities, not only to get on loyalty rewards, but 8 different opportunities to share the products and build the business. So if you're struggling with finding sharers or builders, it's probably because you don't have this system down. You're not exposing them enough. Okay, the next thing. Let's talk about, and really quickly, you have it, of course, at the same time. You have your continuing education courses at the same time, the same day, the same place, whether they're online or live. All right. Now, we loved doing it Saturdays at 10 a.m. It just seemed to be the perfect time for people to show up. The evenings were more difficult, right? And so they could come to continuing education, and some weeks they would come and other weeks they wouldn't. And over time, they would get all of their 8 courses done. And we also offered them a gift at the end of the 8-week courses. We had these little business cards, and we give everyone a business card, and it would have all the 8 weeks, all the schedule, like all the different 8 product courses. And when they'd come to a class, the presenter would sign that off. And if they fill the whole thing up and they would get all of their 8 weeks done, we'd give them a gift. And we got these, cheaper diffusers, and we give them a gift, and people did it all the time for the diffusers. And we also gave them a little certificate saying, you're an essential oil expert, and and they loved it. It was great. And I highly, highly recommend doing that. All right, next. So next is a team call. Now, if you're approaching diamond, almost a diamond or a diamond, these are the people that should be doing their own team call, leading their own individual team call. If you're anything under that rank, you should just be plugging in to your uplines team call. I mean, if you have an organization that's massive and you're like a gold, then maybe you could think about doing it. But the reason why is you want enough people on this team call. The team call is really specific. It's only 30 minutes long. And the whole reason why you have a team call is because you want to have a place every week that people get basics. They get supported. I know that you're going to be supporting your front line, and possibly your front line will be supporting their front line. But after a while, there seems to be a breakdown, and there's some people that just don't get supported. They don't know where to go to get information. And so your team call is super, super important. So it looks kind of like this. The first 2 minutes is a welcome. You're saying how excited you are. Then you have a really training on a specific oil or a product. It's only 5 minutes long. It's so easy. Let me tell you how easy this is. You simply just open up the Essential Life book and you go to an oil. Like at the front, it highlights every single oil or a product. And it talks about where it comes from, what it's best for, all the different little details about it. And then you give a testimonial about it, or have somebody else give a testimonial about how that affected their life. And that's it. That's the training. And then you just go over that week after week, and you choose a different oil product. It's fantastic, right? The next 15 minutes is you're going to be training on a specific business skill. So how do you know what training that you need to do? Well, you'll find out what trainings to do from your strategy sessions that we're going to talk about next. So basically, if your team is struggling with the close at the end of the class, you're going to train on closing. If your team is struggling with getting people to show up to leadership, you talk about the importance of leadership. If your team is really, really struggling on just effective sampling and following up, whatever your team is struggling with, that's what you're going to talk about, and that's what you're going to train on. Now, how would you know how to train? Well, you have the daily mentor calls. All you have to do is just listen to a specific call on a specific training item and then train on that. Or ask your upline to train on that, or even sidelines. It's very, very simple, very duplicatable. All right, the next 5 minutes is recognition or testimonials. So I want to talk a little bit about this recognition part. It's always really frustrating for people to have the same person all the time recognized. The same person is always winning. The same person is always rank advancing. I mean, if there's big ranks in your team, of course you're going to talk about it. But I know that for us with the Presidential Diamonds, right? It's so interesting that we'll have these Presidential Diamond meetings, and the owners will kind of get together and they'll say, "Hey guys, we're going to have this trip that we're going on for the Presidential Diamonds, and the person that signs up the most people out of all of you here is going to be staying in like the biggest suite and have your own private pool," or whatever it is. And we all know that it's going to be Haley Hobson. We all know that. In fact, we're like texting Haley going, "Hey, will you invite me to the pool because I know you're going to win?" It's not even motivating for us because it's like we all know it's always going to be the same person. Well, sometimes on your team, it's the same thing. You're always going to have one or two rock stars that are always signing up the most and ranking the most and hitting all their stuff. And that's really discouraging for the rest of your team. So I think a better way to do recognition is recognizing people for different things. You can do recognition you can have somebody come on a call and just say, "You know what, I just wanted to talk about Lucy this week. You know what, Lucy actually sold 7 kits. 7 kits in one class. And I just wanted her to talk about how she did it." And so Lucy can come on and talk about, or how about this? I just wanted Charlotte to come onto this call and talk about how she last week, literally in the middle of the night, drove 2 hours to someone's house to help with a child that was really, really hurting with an ear infection. And I just wanted her to jump on and tell her like what motivates her and how she's just so good at customer service, right? Anything that you can do for recognition, and you can change up the recognition. You can talk about people that are most helpful, or people that involve other teams and that are always opening, their classes to everyone else. You of course can talk about rank advancing, but you get the idea. Recognition can be different. Or you can bring incredible testimonials, people that have had testimonials about oils, or testimonials about the business, or testimonials about, doTERRA and what a great company it is. But you're planning this obviously before. All right. So finally, it's just a reminder in your close. So basically you would say things like, "Hey, don't forget, this month's BOGO," or, "Don't forget, Dr. Hill is coming to the area this Saturday. If you don't have your people signed up," whatever it is. "Don't forget, leadership tickets, become available this week for all of you that are, silvers and above and going to leadership." So you just do some reminders and you do a close, and that's about 3 minutes. Now, just a warning, don't make this a long team call. If it's more than 30 minutes, people won't show up. They won't get on it. They get to the point where like, it's not worth my time. The other thing that you have to be careful of is don't be the only voice. This doesn't have to be an Elise Chedevy show. Like if they get on and all they hear is from me week after week after week, make sure that different people are doing the training on specific oils. Make sure that different people are doing the business skills. Different people are talking about recognition. You have different testimonials. Different people are doing the reminders and the close all the time. Number one, if you get your leaders involved, they're gonna support it more with their downlines. And number two, it's a lot more. It's not so boring. It's fantastic, right? So that's your team call. Now, we always had our team calls Monday evenings. We did it after everyone was done with work, and we did it on Monday because it's the beginning of the week. We want to set everyone up for a great week. If you do it on Friday or even Thursday. The weekend's right around the corner. It seems like everyone forgets. So we did it Monday. Now you have to decide what's the best time and what's the best day. And you can't be changing it. It has to be the same day at the same time. You can either, you can use Zoom, you can use Skype. It can be just, something that they dial into, however you want to figure it out. But the same day, the same time, in the same way. All right. And the team call is just, a half an hour long, but we blocked out an hour for, you can plan for it. Some people get on early. Some people, you'll, do some follow up with. All right. So next is strategy sessions with key leaders. This is so critical for your business. In fact, I have been doing strategy sessions since the first couple months of my business. And what I found is that if you're just connecting with your leaders 2 days before the end of the month because you need volume or you want to make sure that they're doing their power of 3, after a while they feel used and they don't feel like you're really business partners. They feel like that the only reason why they're there is to make sure that you get a check. And this is not a great way to build. And it's not most effective, and it's definitely not motivating for your downline, right? So strategy sessions happen once a week. And the way that these are set up is step number 1, you reconnect and ask discovery questions, okay? So you make sure that you say, how did your week go? And, tell me how you're feeling, what went well, what didn't go well. You just kind of reconnect. Step number 2 is you review your goals and your priorities of the action items that you had from the last week. You talk about, okay, how did we do last week? How did things work out? Step number 3, you set up an action plan for the coming week. You decide what are the biggest priorities that we want to accomplish this week. Okay. And then step number 4, you put the actions into your calendar. And, with my leaders, I'll actually schedule when they're going to get things done, right? They say, well, I'm going to do this by Thursday night. So Thursday, I have a reminder on my phone and I just text them, how'd this go? You said you were going to reach out to Keith and to Lydia. How did it go? And so I'm holding them accountable. And that's really what leaders need. They don't need cheerleaders, right? Our leaders don't need you to be their cheerleader or their therapist, because a lot of times what ends up happening is you talk the whole time and you're doing a therapy session about their marriage or about how they're not getting along with their downline. We need actionable strategy sessions. And I found that when people are moving forward in their business and their business is growing, they're not depressed, they're not sad. So we need to do things that help them move forward. And then, of course, last is important reminders. Now, for full-time people in the business, you want to schedule an hour. You have a lot to talk about because they're doing it full-time. For part-time people, you want to schedule a half an hour. And the way that I schedule is I try and get all of my strategy sessions together. And I book people back to back. So, for instance, for me, I first built with a lot of people that were doing it full time and they didn't have jobs. They were doing doTERRA full time. So I did it in the mornings and it would be like 9 a.m. and the next person 10 a.m. and the next person 11 and the next person 12. But I scheduled it back to back. So the next person would be calling me right at the end. So I didn't even have an option to go later, right? And it was just boom, 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 boom. So it gave me a reason to get off the phone. I'm like, oh, I have my next strategy call. So if you're doing it in the evenings, right, after people are working, if they're working, you would schedule it 5. And if they're part-time, 5:30 and 6 and 6:30. But we're only doing strategy sessions with our key leaders, our qualifying legs that are building the business. Not customers, not product users. That will drive them crazy. They don't want to talk to you once a week, right? But your builders that are building the business and that are personally, they're your qualifying leaders, okay? And whether they're on your front line or a couple levels down because they're qualifying, it doesn't matter. But to get to Diamond, it should be the most people that you're doing strategy sessions with are 4 people and 4 key legs because you need 4 legs to go to Diamond, right? So even if, they're full-time, it wouldn't be any more than 4 hours. But most of your people are part-time. So I scheduled my strategy sessions on Monday mornings. So we started off the week with boom, here we go. Now, sometimes you can't put them all in the same block, and I get that. Some people, they say, I can only do it in the evening. And so, you do it, in the evening. And some people say, well, I can only do it in the morning. But the whole point is you try and get them in clusters so it's more effective for you. And if you absolutely can't do it on Monday, then you can do it on Tuesday, but you need to do it at the beginning of the week. All right. So here we have 6 out of 7, right, of our most important crucial activities. Okay? So now, finally, we're going to talk about contacting and following up. Now, this is something I probably should have talked about at the very beginning. It's the most important thing. If we're not contacting and following up, well, guess what? There's nobody to show up to the classes, and we don't have any wellness consults to do, and nobody comes to continuing education. We definitely don't have a team call because we don't have a team, and there's no strategizing with key leaders because we're not contacting and following up. So the most important thing, the most important part of our business is contacting and following up. I did it number 7 just so I'm not going to overwhelm you, right? But when it comes to contacting and following up, this is anyone that you talk to or follow up with that is not yet signed up in doTERRA. So contacting and following up isn't talking to your team. And it's not like working with people, that are coming to continuing education. These are new people that are not yet signed up in doTERRA. Next, try to contact and follow up at different times on different days to reach different people when they're available. So if you're always trying to contact at 9 a.m. in the morning, well, guess what? A lot of people might be at work or they might be in yoga class, and you're never going to reach them then. And if you're always trying to contact in the evening, you're not going to reach everybody else then. So you have to do it different days at different times. You cluster your calls together in one block of time. So let's say you're doing contacting and following up on Monday. You wouldn't say, well, I'm going to do 15 minutes here and 20 minutes here and another 15 minutes here. Usually what happens is you kind of get into a rhythm of contacting and following up, and the longer you do it, the better you get at it. So try and put your, cluster your time in one block. And then what I like to do is if I'm looking for a specific amount of builders, I have to take, let's say, hey, I want to start a 3rd leg, okay? And I want to find a committed and capable leader for my 3rd leg. And if I'm looking for one builder, I take that number and I times it by 4. And I think, okay, well, I'm going to find 4 people that are interested. And usually one of them is going to pan out. So out of those 4, one usually does nothing. One usually goes really slow. Another one kind of, I don't know, they do some things, they're okay, but it's one of them that really runs with you and goes at your same, speed and pace that you want to go. So what I found is that to actually rank advance quicker, it doesn't happen by pushing your people harder, pushing them harder than they want to build. What actually works is by putting more people into the pipeline. And basically you're like, if you want to walk, I'll walk with you. If you want to crawl, well, then you're going to have to crawl. But if you want to run, I'll run with you. And you have to just put more people into the pipeline so you can find the people that really want to run. Now, when it comes to scheduling your contacting and following up, it needs to be different times, like we said, of the week. It could be Tuesdays at 6 and, Wednesdays in the afternoon and Thursdays right at lunchtime and Fridays in the morning. Or you could put it on Saturdays and Mondays, wherever it fits into your schedule. But what I'm recommending is a minimum of 4 hours of contacting and following up. Okay, 4 hours. Now, when I was really, really pushing for rank, and I'm pushing for rank right now, right? But when I'm in the pushing for rank era, I do a lot more than 4 hours, right? This is a minimum of 4 hours. Now, I want you to look at this schedule, and I want to kind of count, starting on Monday, how many hours are in this schedule, right? So on Monday, even if all 4 of your 4 qualifying legs to go diamond are full-time, which most of them won't be, you have 4 hours there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 strategy sessions, 5 team call, 6 wellness consult, 7 continuing and following up, 7, 8 for Wednesday, 9, 10, 11 for Thursday, 12, 13 for Friday, and Saturday with continuing education, 14, 15. Now, imagine you have, travel time. So that might be a couple hours going places. And you also have people that will be calling you outside of strategy sessions. So imagine that travel time and call time is another 5 hours of the week, right? So you're looking at 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week. That's part-time work, guys. It's part-time work. You can fit 20 hours a week even if you're working full-time by using your Saturdays and by using evenings and by getting creative with your schedule. But 20 hours a week, if you do it this way, use it effectively like this, you can literally become a diamond in a year with 20 hours of effective work. But you have to do the 7 critical things in your business. You have to have them set up, right? And I have found so many people that have had so much success with this. And honestly, scheduling, it's everything. You put it into your schedule, and then guess what? You follow the schedule. You hold yourself accountable to this schedule, and you do it day after day, week after week, month after month. I'm now, going on over 10 years of doing doTERRA. I still have a weekly schedule. I still get my stuff done, and my business is growing and growing and growing. So thank you so much for being with me today. And I want to leave you just with this one thought and that is this. You need to plan for your success. It doesn't just happen. You have to plan for it. And when you plan for it and then execute on that plan, you'll be successful. Thanks so much for being with me. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.